Good evening, everyone. I am Adrianna Giordano, and with my colleagues, Gabriela Torres, Alejandra Herrera, and ADHARA VELEZ, we will talk about how international trade based in theories of trade affect enterprises' certificate in fair trade, and how can it help to turn consumerism in a good thing.
Okay, I go talk about Great Mountain Coffee Roaster. It's an American conglomerate founded in 1981. The company produces and sells coffee, cocoa, tea, and another beverage under various brands, offering more than 400 different varieties of coffee and another tea. It rolled the company in 1994 to start exporting to Canada and Taiwan at the time under the theory of comparative advantage, which defines that a country should specialize in the process of the group and the goods that the country not produce very well, but from early years, the company began to adopt an environment spirit where the sustainability were the general policy. In 1980, forming an environment employees, commerce, and began a recycling program and donated 10% of the process to Conservation International and Reforest Alliance, and also introduced the first ecological coffee filter cell. The company pointed the freighter movement in 2000 by generating first and stay minimum price a wall above the market value. Since the 2020, the company has been a large employer or freight trader coffee in the world, prioritizing initiative to alleviate poverty and hunger in the coffee community. The company partners with firms to ensure they work under appropriate conditions while support the local economy.
Well, I choose a clothing line called Fair Indigo. It is a family business started by a married couple from Javier and Elsa from Cajamarca, Peru. The couple grows their own organic cotton, run their own small batch sewing workshops in Lima, and serve as a hub for dozens of tiny knitting cooperatives who, without the help of Javier and Elsa, assistants would struggle to get their products to market. The farm uses natural irrigation processes that grows quinoa in the off-season, and they also use the Pima cotton workers picked by hand, which helps to protect and preserve the land while providing sustainable and long-term employment to farmers. The company also uses certified earth-friendly dyes, biodegradable bags to pack the products, and focus on designing sustainable clothing that can last for a long time, because they say sustainability and longevity is key, and people are the heart of it all. Employees and cooperative owners around Peru have clean work, fair pay, and hope. So they create garments that will last for years and never see a landfill. In addition to that, the company provides funding for schools and teachers in Peru. They have helped install a library, build computer labs, and build classrooms. For all these reasons, this company and all its products are fair trade certified.
Chocolate Guitar Chocolate Company. In the mid-80s, Guitar ventured from Tournus, France, to the Barbary Coast, and in hopes of striking it rich during the California Gold Rush. He bought delicious chocolate from his uncle's factory to trade for mini spice, but soon discovered this product owners were willing to pay a premium for this treat. Armed with this knowledge, they have another kind of gold, he said. Back to the France to finance this craft in 1868. Returning to San Francisco, he opened the Guitar Chocolate and Sands on the Street. In addition, this chocolate, I think, said he sold coffee, tea, and spices, a thing gaining the company for 31 years. Also, he started from scratch with only a few bags of cocoa beans. By this time, his death in 1899, this factory was established enterprise with an integral role in the growth of business community of San Francisco. His son, Oren's guitar, was in charge when the '96 earthquake destroyed much of San Francisco, including the factory in Samsung. The brainstorming from MGB Coffee helped us to get back on our feet. Gary gained the family firm in 1968, working side by side with his brother Jay, who oversaw the whole business with his father. Others Jay assumed the presidency in the mid of '80s. In 1989, due to the ultimate death of his father and his brother, Gary began running the company with his family of employees, many of whom have been there for more than 20 years. They decided to have a fair trade in 2006.
Hello. The company I chose to speak about, it's called Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream. I think most of you have heard of it. It's very famous around the world. And it's curious, but it started back in 1978. Both Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield, they completed a course of ice cream over correspondence. So after that, they thought of, making this business of the ice cream. In the case of Ben Cohen, he suffered from a disease called anosmia. This means that he wasn't able to, to taste or smell things. So he would only rely on the feelings on his mouth. So that's why the ice cream, if you haven't tasted them, have chunks of fruit or maybe chunks of chocolate or things in them, to to have the ice cream taste something. Um, by May the 5th of 1978, they started the company. They did an investment and they opened in Vermont. By 1979, they had the first anniversary, and now they do the first free cone day, which is like a holiday, an annual event at every Ben and Jerry's store um, because of that moment. Back in 2005, they were the first ice cream maker in the world to use fair trade certified ingredients. In 2010, they decided to fully commit to the cause, and then all of their flavors and all of the countries where the ice cream was sold had to have the fair trade certified ingredients. So this was by 2011 in Europe and 2014 in the United States. What I like about this company the most is that they almost, I would say, all of the ingredients they trade are fair trade, like the cocoa, bananas, sugar, the coffee, and I think there's another one which I don't remember right now. But all of those, they they are certified on fair trade. So in this case, they have all of this from everywhere around the world. They have the cocoa from Ghana. They have I would say the bananas from Ecuador. They have coffee from Mexico. They have sugar from Belize. So they've, I would say, internationalized the company a lot, and that's what I like the most about them. They are very committed to the fair trade certified international products, to help local farmers with their own businesses, and that's like the environment they create, among others.
Okay, it's possible to turn consumerism into a good thing. I think that the word of consumerism has been consolidated as a negative expression because all we are a consumer, and this makes the economy moving in the world. It's also true that the extreme consumerism has created environment demands and social inequality. But I think that if we act with consciously and more responsibility, uh, habits where the choice of the products we are going to buy or consumer are based not only on solely or price or brand, rather they are based of environment and social impact. This will help in a social aspect and make consumerism seem more positive in more time. Purchase products for socially responsibility companies or when the fair trade sale. By choosing products with the sale of fair trade, we are helping to build a more equitable environment for for all. And the fair trade uh, model is synonymous with dignified life, gender equality, access of the child labor, education, access to drinking water, and among other social economy initiatives.
Well, I think this is a hard question. As human beings, we will never be satisfied with what we have. Therefore, we will always want more, which means the resources we currently have will not be enough to fulfill our desire to consume, and we will do anything to get what we want. Nowadays, a lot of people are being more conscious about this problem and are searching and finding ways to help the environment, such as choosing to buy what you actually need and not what you think you need, or maybe not using plastic and other harmful materials. However, it is not enough. People as individuals will not be able to do what companies do, because consumerism is not only an ecological problem, but also a problem within the people. Big companies are taking advantage of people from countries with low labor wages, so that way they can produce cheaper products and sell them massively. And we buy them because we think that's the best option. Nowadays, with a wide spread of information, people are acknowledging this problem and pressuring companies into changing their practices. That's why a lot of companies are choosing to be sustainable, not only environmentally, but also socially. That's where fair trade comes in. Because as we know, it is impossible to completely stop consumerism. It is what maintains our current lifestyle, and I personally think people will not entirely give up on things. However, we can choose to help reduce the impact we are making in the world by first being conscious of the problems, then finding institutions that are promoting fair trade and sustainability, and support them by buying products certified on fair trade. That way, we can not only help the earth, but also the people that work to make our clothes and feed us. And last but not least, it is critical to spread the word, because it is not easy for everybody to understand the problem. I think this is a way we can reduce the impact of consumerism.
Okay. Everyone knows that we live in a culture of consumerism, but few people understand the full extent of the problem it causes or the effects that it has on each of us. Consumerism is one of the strongest forces affecting our life in the modern world. The term, the term consumerism doesn't simply refer to indicate factors in our daily lives, such as the omnipresence of advertising, but anything connected to the overarching idea in our modern society that in order to be happier, better, or more successful than the we successful people, we have to have more stuff. It might be argued that we should have the mental strength to resist the influence of an advertisement or our friends, or that consumerism is nothing more than minor irritant in our everyday lives. But that would be to underestimate its power. Some of the effects of consumerism on us are what one might expect from a culture that promotes consumption. We slid into a cycle of waiting more things, and pursuit of these things takes and sometimes money we don't have. We also constantly compare ourselves with other people, both real and fictitious, wanting to be like them or their position. This leads us into a state of constant dissatisfaction. We are never happy with what we have in and what always on age. On this is just that the logic of consumerism not only affect our behavior, we spend time on consumerism activities, but also our thinking, our aspiration, attitudes, and worldviews. There is not necessarily anything morally wrong in buying or selling things, nor even in promoting in an honest way and certain extent. But the trend of consumerism nowadays dominates the world has a number of unpleasant and potentially dangerous characteristics.
When I was investigating on the matter, I ran across a lot of information regarding consumerism, and I did see its pros and its cons. Yes, we might need consumerism to meet our needs. Living standards of people might improve because of it. Consumerism also increases production. This means that economies grow. This creates new jobs, and this leads to a never ending cycle of consumption. However, I like to think that the society where we live in today, people is more awake in certain ways. They are not afraid to speak out, for example, on the negative effects that consumerism may have on their mental health and also on our planet and its resources. On the other hand, fair trade, I would say it's an initiative that can has come a long way. It does. Why? Because its main focus is that certified farmers around the world can adopt practices that respect both the environment and also the laws, for example, against child labor, among others, in a sustainable way. And if they follow these laws, so this is going to represent for them a benefit. They will get better trading conditions, for example, fair prices to cover the production expenses. They can get also a premium to invest in social projects for the communities. They can even get long-term business relationships with the providers. That's why Ben and Jerry, it's a great example for me because not only they source 5 ingredients, and now I remembered, it was sugar, cocoa, vanilla, coffee, and bananas from around the world. They also contribute to social development that is reflected, I would say, in building medical complexes in Ivory Coast, rural schools or scholarships for children in other parts of Africa. I would say the creation of libraries and schools for families in Ecuador. Um, Health is more available for people who work for the farmers and their families as well. So, like everything, everything has its pros and its cons. And I remember also that I listened to a podcast about 3 people discussing about fair trade of how fair was it. So one of those people was a CEO from a company named Equal Exchange. His name is Robert Evers, and he is pro fair trade. The other person is also a CEO from a company called Transcend Coffee, but he doesn't use fair trade in his treat, in his commerce. And the third person was a professor from political science and economy from a university in the UK. And it was good to see each point of view. For example, on the eyes of the CEO that works with fair trade, he feels like he has accomplished something, and that he has, given out to people with the work that he and his company does. On the other hand, the Transcend Coffee CEO, who doesn't use fair trade, says that it's better for him to deal with, one farmer at a time, or maybe create business relationships individually with one farmer at a time. And the professor, he went, I would say, on a field trip in Africa, and then he noticed that fair trade may not be as fair as people think so, because benefits don't go almost directly to the farmers and the workers and their families. So nothing is perfect. However, I can say that if you pair up consumerism with fair trade, I'm sure that even though consumerism on its own can be damaging in the long run, when you pair it up with the fair trade, we might be able to have control over what we buy and what we really need, also taking into account the hard work and the efforts behind that hard work. And this is going to reduce the impact on our environment and also on our mental state.
Well, after analyzing the behavior of international trade, its benefits and downsides, we can infer that international trade is necessary to maintain the world's current lifestyle. People are used to have anything they want from anywhere, and to make people stop doing that is impossible. Countries have created trade in order to exchange products and services they need, and that way improve the standards of living for their people. This comes with huge profits and political benefits, but sadly not for every country. Because if one has a lot of it, it means that there is someone who has too little. That's why some people consider international trade to be bad. It tends to benefit developed countries, which take advantage of the people and resources of least developed countries. That's why fair trade is created. A fair way to have all we need, but reducing the ugly consequences. Respecting the environment, appreciating the farmers and workers, and providing least developed countries with opportunities to live better. However, it cannot become a way for customers to continue buying more than they actually need, but doing it behind the thought of being ecologically friendly. Thank you.